After pummeling the extreme northern Philippines, Super Typhoon Nando, international name Regasa, is now moving away, leaving behind a swathe of destruction and forcing thousands to evacuate. Though it is gradually weakening as it exits the Philippine Area of Responsibility, PAR, the storm's powerful winds and heavy rainfall have caused significant damage to infrastructure, housing, and agriculture, while enhancing the southwest monsoon to trigger flooding in other parts of Luzon, including Metro Manila. The hardest hit areas are in northern Luzon, which experienced the full force of Nando's winds, with gustiness of up to 295 kilometers per hour. Buwaya Islands and Cagayan. The super typhoon made landfall over Panuitan Island in Calayan, Cagayan, on Monday afternoon, bringing an immense threat to life and property. In Cagayan, the local disaster office reported that over 8,000 people were affected, with more than 6,800 staying in evacuation centers. Power and communication lines were cut, isolating many communities. In Ilocos Sur, tornadoes spawned by Nando damaged dozens of houses in 3 villages. The region also experienced power outages and road closures. One major thoroughfare, the Sigay Road, was rendered impassable due to the swelling of the Buwaya River. Cordillera Administrative Region, CAR, a landslide in Tuba, Benguet, resulted in the death of 1 person and injuries to 7 others. Another major landslide was reported on a section of Marcos Highway in Tuba. Heavy rainfall also caused a strawberry farm in La Trinidad to be submerged. In Apayao, a key road connecting it to Ilocos Norte was closed due to high water levels. While Nando battered the north, its enhanced southwest monsoon, habagat, brought continuous, torrential rainfall to other parts of Luzon. Metro Manila, in particular, was inundated with severe flooding, overwhelming drainage systems and hampering flood mitigation efforts. Major thoroughfares affected. Social media was flooded with reports of impassable roads. The Metro Manila Council's Flood Control and Information Center confirmed that several major thoroughfares in Quezon City experienced waist to chest-deep floodwaters, especially along G. Araneta Avenue. Classes and work suspended. As a safety precaution, Malacanang suspended government work and classes in provinces across northern Luzon on Tuesday. In Metro Manila and other affected areas, local government units also declared their own suspensions due to the severe flooding. As Nando churned through the Philippine Sea, travel across the country was heavily impacted. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines announced the cancellation of 16 domestic flights on Monday. Maritime activities were also brought to a halt, with fishing boats and inter-island ferries prohibited from leaving port due to very rough seas. Authorities issued storm surge warnings for coastal communities in Batons, Cagayan, and Ilocos, prompting preemptive evacuations. Exit and ongoing response. Pagasa reported that Nando slightly weakened overnight and was forecast to exit PAR on Tuesday morning. However, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, NDRRMC, remains on high alert, coordinating with local government units and agencies to provide relief and conduct damage assessment. The council has reported over 43,500 families affected and continues to monitor the situation closely, especially with the possibility of another tropical cyclone forming. The public is being advised to remain vigilant, as conditions remain hazardous in many areas, and to follow the instructions of local officials. Emergency response teams are now on the ground to begin clearing operations and provide aid to those displaced by the super typhoon. In Apari, Cagayan, around 188 families or 676 individuals have been brought to emergency shelters, as high waves and flooding were observed in the town. In the nearby municipality of Baguio, residents were told to be ready to evacuate as floodwaters began to rise due to the torrential rains from Super Typhoon Nando. Emergency rescuers in the town used a motorboat to help bring a patient to the hospital after two bridges. The Taytay San Isidro Overflow Bridge and the Baguinot Overflow Bridge were rendered impassable as the river beneath them swelled. According to the Cagayan Disaster Office, around 2,751 families or 8,163 individuals were affected by the super typhoon. Of the number, some 2,199 families or 6,851 individuals were staying in evacuation centers. In Isabela, more than 1,000 families were moved to shelters due to the threat of storm surge, with some staying in evacuation centers since Sunday. Twin landslides hit Benguet on Monday, forcing the temporary closure of Marcos Highway in Tuba town. The landslides occurred along Baguis, Poblacion and Barak, Ilocos Sur. Part of Kenan Road was also closed as fallen trees and collapsed power lines obstructed the road. A torrent of water coming from Bridal Veil Falls was caught on video rushing toward Kenan Road, and rockfall was also observed. Mud-colored floodwaters hit parts of Pico, La Trinidad, Benguet on Monday, with Benguet authorities conducting preemptive evacuation of residents in Sitio Capalan, Barangay Catlabong, Bugias, a landslide-prone area. The Alambique Bridge in Candon City, Ilocos Sur, meanwhile, became impassable Monday as inundation hit the part of the bridge under construction. Motorists can take alternate roads while the Department of Public Works and Highways and the contractor repair the damaged portions of the bridge, said ENGR Gregorio Navita Jr., a disaster officer of Candon. Heavy rains from Super Typhoon Nando and the southwest monsoon swamped several major roads in Metro Manila on Monday night, causing chest-deep floods in parts of Quezon City and leaving some routes impassable, the Metro Manila Council's Flood Control and Information Center said. In Valenzuela City, MacArthur Highway Corner C, Santiago and G. Lazaro streets in Barangay Dalandanan were gutter-deep and passable, while the intersection at T. Santiago reached half-tire deep and was not passable to light vehicles. In Manila City, España Boulevard corner Antipolo was half-tire deep and impassable to light vehicles, while Abad Santos Avenue corner Tayuman was knee-deep in floods. Other areas including Roxas Boulevard, Lawton, and Taft Avenue were gutter-deep but remained passable to all vehicles. In Malabon City, Governor Pascual Avenue in Barangay Catmon was half knee-deep but still passable, while MH Del Pilar Street in Barangay Panghulo was gutter-deep and was passable. In Quezon City, flooding at G. Araneta Avenue intersections with P. Florentino, NS Amaranto, and Maria Clara was waist to chest deep, making the roads impassable to all vehicles. The E. Rodriguez intersection was gutter deep and passable, while nearby areas such as Aurora Boulevard reached half-tire to knee-deep. In Caloocan City, gutter-deep flooding was reported at the C3 NLEX connector intersection, but it was passable. The Quezon City government added that barangays that are not on the list, but have areas prone to flooding or landslides, are also encouraged to conduct preemptive evacuations. Meanwhile, gutter-deep flooding is being experienced along Calarea to Araneta and Familara Calarea in Barangay Tatalan. Likewise, there's a gutter-deep flood along T. Mascardo Cor Raja Matanda in Barangay Villa Maria Clara. Further, knee-deep flood is being experienced along NS Amaranto Cor Banao in Barangay Siena. Meteorologists forecast that Super Typhoon Regasa, currently raging in the East Sea with winds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour, is likely to weaken before making landfall in Vietnam due to unfavorable conditions. Mai Van Kim, director of the National Center for Hydrometeorological Forecasting, said at a meeting of the National Civil Defense Steering Committee on September 22nd that although stronger at sea than Typhoon Yagi in 2024, several factors would cause Regasa to be downgraded rapidly in the coming days. A continental cold air mass is currently moving southward, impacting the northern part of the super typhoon and contributing significantly to its weakening as it passes southern Guangdong and Liuzhou Island of China on September 24th, said Keane. Regasa is moving westward but is expected to shift north over the next 2 to 3 days, encountering friction from China's landmass. Both international forecasts and AI models tested by Vietnam in collaboration with Japan agree that the typhoon's path will move north of Liuzhou Island rather than south, as Yagi did, leading to more pronounced weakening. In addition, statistics show that a typhoon typically lasts 5 to 7 days, peaking in intensity around days 3 to 4. Regasa, formed on September 18th, is currently at its peak stage and is expected to gradually weaken. Forecasts indicate that by the time it passes the Liuzhou Peninsula into the Gulf of Tonkin, the typhoon will reduce its strength, packing winds of 103 to 139 kilometers per hour. On land in Quang Ninh to Thanh Hoa provinces, winds may reach 75 to 88 kilometers per hour, with gusts up to 166 kilometers per hour. Rainfall is expected at 150 to 250 millimeters, with some areas exceeding 450 millimeters. In the scenario that the typhoon moves over Guangdong and then shifts north inland rather than hugging the coast, the strongest winds over the Gulf of Tonkin and Vietnamese land areas will decrease, said Kim. Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Environment Nguyen Hong Heap also expressed optimism, stating, "We hope the typhoon behaves as currently forecast. Once entering the East Sea, Super Typhoon Regasa is expected to weaken due to unfavorable conditions." According to forecasts, by the morning of September 25th, Regasa will be active in the Gulf of Tonkin with near-center winds of 103 to 149 kilometers per hour. It is expected to make landfall around noon or afternoon the same day, with winds of 75 to 117 kilometers per hour and gusts of 166 kilometers per hour. However, this is a 72-hour forecast, so accuracy is limited. The typhoon could intensify or weaken beyond current predictions, and the public is advised to follow subsequent forecasts closely, said the deputy minister. He urged local authorities to strictly manage boats and ships and implement temporary sea bans if necessary. Safety measures for aquaculture farms must also be ensured, especially in the Gulf of Tonkin and northern central coastal areas, which have about 165,000 hectares of aquaculture. The biggest concerns are rainfall, safety, and the management of interconnected reservoirs. Currently, reservoirs in northern Vietnam are near full capacity at the end of the main flood season. If extreme rainfall occurs, reservoir operation will be challenging. Irrigation reservoirs are also at 80 to 90% capacity. Therefore, reservoir operations must follow 48-hour forecasts closely to ensure proper management, he explained. Heap also warned of the potential for thunderstorms before, during, and after the typhoon over both sea and land areas. He advised localities with vessels in the Gulf of Tonkin to monitor forecasts closely to avoid incidents like those recently reported in Ha Long Bay that claimed more than 30 lives. Regarding agriculture, approximately 810,000 hectares of rice crops may be affected by the typhoon and heavy rain, of which only about 200,000 hectares can be harvested in time. Authorities are urged to prioritize harvesting the most vulnerable crops and prepare drainage solutions and emergency pumping stations for unharvestable areas.
No, grabe, ang lalaki ko.